At first glance, one would think a total gut rehab was in order, right? We did. We figured it would cost us about $8,000, when in the end, it cost us not even a tenth of that. Less than $800. How? They say necessity is the mother of invention, and having had all the water pipes burst when we moved in, many of our original plans for renovation also went down the toilet, as Yankee ingenuity set in. Yes, we're here on the Hudson in New York. Instead of replacing the cabinets, which we realized were in great condition in solid oak, we played around with some finishes, and opted for the red over the white pickled effect. And believe it or not, that pint-sized bare sample of red paint called raw cinnabar, which cost us $3 with tax, was enough to paint all the cabinets, top and bottom, with some remaining for touch-up. We then used Minwax hand-rubbed semi-gloss poly to seal the deal. I used old socks for both the paint and the poly. The cabinets now look sharp, like cherry or mahogany, but they needed to be raised, which we did, and glued up some strips as crown molding. We stood back and were grateful we hadn't insisted on buying all new. We were less tolerant of the vinyl faux marble tile backsplash and remembered some handsome handmade floor tiles we had saved from a project from 20 years prior. We worried about their heaviness and how cumbersome it would be to work with them, when lo and behold we happened upon some tile setting mats at Home Depot. That made the project so easy. Suddenly the Formica countertop didn't bother us either. It picked up the oatmeal tones in the tiles and we felt it worked nicely. Someday perhaps a new sink, but for now it was on to the floors. The floors have been worn or damaged, so for these we called in a professional. She sanded them and provided the first coat of stain before we came to stencil. Using the pizza box that we had handy, we laid out the design, which worked out magically, centered both laterally and from front to back. We couldn't believe it. We then laid the box down, outlining it with blue painter's tape. We'd alternate the rows of squares, leaving the tape down till each row was dry, and then took it up and did the rest. We used an ebony glaze for faux finishes for these, deciding that even the black stain was too much contrast to the oak for the effect we wanted. With the diamond checkerboard complete, we tried different sizes for the accent squares, finally fixing on a 4-inch square and quarter-marked it so positioning would be exact. Again, we outlined each square with painter's tape and then used a foam brush to paint them all black. That floor became our pride and joy. But what to do with that little area under the little window overlooking the little English garden? This was another area we splurged. We spent $175 for granite remnant and $50 at Home Depot for braces to support it. And this is where we have our coffee now every morning. Finally, it was time for a coat of fresh paint, Irish mist, and some artistic touches. The sign above the sink we made from an old picket fence, and the Hudson River mural on the soffit we painted on leftover sheetrock. That old Yankee ingenuity.